Okay, I've got a new project up and running. It's from birth to death, and hopefully death is some way off. But when it comes to birth, it all began on April the 15th, 1954. And I'm going to chronologue this with a look at life culture starting from 1954 and how it impacted me. Of course, in those early years, music, movies and sport had little impact, but they became an integral part of my appreciation of life as I reached an age where I could understand those three cultural icons. So, let's get started with a brief look at 1954, where I will show some appreciation, particularly to the movies that hit the high spots in that year. But a few notable world events. On January the 1st, I think that's right, the first nuclear submarine was launched by the Americans. It was called the Nautilus. In February, we saw the first tentative steps by the American government, headed by President Eisenhower, into the Vietnam conflict, which it was emerging between the communists, so-called communists, and the colonial French government. And let's move into health. Mass vaccination of polio began in February 1954. A month later, let's see, the US tested an atomic weapon on the island atoll of Bikini. Significant battles took place on March the 13th between the French military and Viet Cong. On the 19th, first sporting historical fact, boxing appeared on the TV for the first time. Into April, very near my birthday, the iconic song Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley and the Comets was recorded. The McCarthy witch hunt began on the 22nd, so I'm in the middle of those two items of news. On the 26th of April, the Seventh Samurai, directed by Akira Kurosawa, was released, black and white of course. And on May the 6th, the first 4-minute mile was run by Roger Bannister. July saw Australia get their first win at the British Open Golf Championship. Peter Thompson getting the cup. On July the 21st, there was a significant battle between North and South Vietnam. And a little bit later, the first publication on 29th of July of the book Lord of the Rings by J.R. Tolkien. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's becoming an integral part of the Trump administration, was born on June the 17th. And Not long after him came Oprah Winfrey. On the airwaves, back in sport, Michael Holding was born February 16th, and Jimmy Nail on March the 16th. Michael Moore arrived a few days after me, April 23rd. Joe Jackson on August the 11th, and August the 23rd, Elvis Costello. So there's some real heavyweights here. Annie Lennox, the end of the year, born 25th of December, and Denzel Washington, the actor, was born on the 28th of December. So let's try and itemize those. Sport. So as mentioned earlier, Roger Bannister, 4-minute mile. Peter Thompson. The FIFA World Cup was held in Switzerland, and West Germany beat the hot favourites, the Magyars from Hungary, 3-2. The Magyars, of course, had Ferenc Puskás amongst their superstars. There were 16 countries involved. Wolves won the first division title. And just trying to read my writing, Rocky Marciano was still the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world in boxing. And at tennis, Yaroslav Drobny from Egypt surprisingly beat the favourite Ken Rosewell in the final of the men's singles in 4 sets. In music, as I say, Bill Haley recorded that infamous rock around the clock. On July, Sun Studios saw the arrival of That's Alright Mama by Elvis. Around about this time, the 7-inch single was launched to replace the 78, and the albums that come to mind, the infamous Live at Massey Hall. The quintet included the jazz giants, Charlie Parker amongst them, and Dizzy Gillespie. There was also albums by Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Lullaby on Birdland, and down at the movie theatre. These were my top 5, and I will add some audio and scenes from the movies, audio from the music, of course. My top 5: at 5, Johnny Guitar, directed by Nicholas Ray, starring Joan Crawford and Sterling Hayden. The Community, directed by Herman Wouk, starring Humphrey Bogart. La Strada, Federico Fellini, absolutely fantastic. It actually won the Oscar 3 years later in 1957. Why the delay, I don't know. But it stars Anthony Quinn and Giulietto Massina. At 2, Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's creepy mystery with James Stewart and the gorgeous Gene Kelly. And then my number 1, Elie Kazan, On the Waterfront, starring Brando, Steiger, Lee J. Cobb and E. Marie Saint. They bagged a gob full of Oscars. Other music to consider: All the Things You Are, that was from the quintet. And on a personal note, well, I was born